Jungkook's mind races as he watches Taehyung, seated and vulnerable, oblivious to the identity of the one approaching him. The air between them pulses with an intensity that brings back a flood of memories, each one pushing Jungkook closer to the edge of control. He's supposed to remain detached, to treat this like any other encounter, yet the sight of Taehyung like this stirs something deep and raw within him. With each step forward, the past echoes louder, clashing against a carefully crafted persona Jungkook has perfected over time. The lace and silk he wears, symbols of allure and power, feel like a facade, powerless against the storm of emotions that Taehyung's presence unearths. He's trained for control, yet every fiber of him trembles with the weight of unspoken words and buried desires. He comes to a stop, just close enough to hear Taehyung's breath, steady but expectant, blindfolded and waiting for whatever may come next. Jungkook takes a breath, grounding himself, knowing that he can't falter, not here, not now. He steadies his voice, drawing on the confidence he's cultivated, though his heart betrays him with every beat. "Are you ready?" he asks, his voice a low murmur, cloaked in the seductive confidence he's known for. Taehyung nods, his body tense yet willing, as though surrendering to the mystery of the moment. Jungkook feels his chest tighten at the sight, torn between the urge to reach out and the necessity to remain a stranger in this space. He takes another breath, the past swirling around him like a storm, and gently rests his hands on Taehyung's shoulders, feeling the warmth beneath his fingertips. Each touch is deliberate, precise, yet his own resolve wavers, emotion swirling as he lets his fingers trace down Taehyung's arm. He feels the shiver that runs through Taehyung's frame, a reaction that stirs the bittersweet longing within him. As he moves closer, Jungkook's thoughts threaten to betray him, a collision of love, regret, and desire that he struggles to keep at bay. The boundaries between fantasy and reality blur, and for a fleeting moment, he lets himself believe in the illusion, as if this closeness could heal the wounds they both carry. Taehyung shifts again, exhaling a shaky breath, oblivious to the turmoil that threatens to break Jungkook's carefully crafted facade. His fingers flex against his thighs, a subtle hint of unease slipping through the calm demeanor he's trying to hold onto. Jungkook feels each movement, each breath, like a physical ache, his resolve wavering as the weight of the past presses down on him. For a moment, Jungkook closes his eyes, pulling in a steadying breath, trying to steel himself. This was supposed to be a performance, a role, a mask to wear and discard once the night ended. Yet, here he is, a swirl of emotions and memories that refuse to be ignored, tangled around the man he once loved with a ferocity he could never forget. Taking a trembling step forward, Jungkook lets his fingers trail lightly along Taehyung's shoulder, feeling the muscle tense and release under his touch. His voice, when he speaks, is softer, carrying a hint of something deeper, something raw. Is it freedom you seek, or release? The question hangs in the air, a mirror to the countless nights Jungkook had spent asking himself the same thing, wondering if he'd ever truly be free from the hold Taehyung had on him. Taehyung's response is a barely audible murmur. "Both, I think," he whispers, and the vulnerability in his voice cuts through Jungkook's heart like a blade. The weight of that single word speaks volumes, a longing they both understand yet dare not name. Slowly, Jungkook's hands move up to cradle Taehyung's face, his fingers brushing against the edge of the blindfold. There's a tenderness to his touch, a delicate hesitation that feels out of place in the opulent, shadowed room. And yet, he can't help but linger, savoring the familiarity, the proximity. His thumb grazes Taehyung's cheek, feeling the faint warmth of his skin, a connection that's both fragile and electric. As his hands slip away, Jungkook fights to keep his composure, knowing that if he lets himself fall any further, there may be no return. His voice, low and steady, guides Taehyung through each sensation, each caress, a gentle reassurance woven into his words. "Let yourself feel," he murmurs, his voice thick with an intensity that betrays him. Taehyung nods, a hint of surrender in the movement, his head tipping back slightly as he sinks further into the chair. Jungkook's fingers find his, tangling their hands together in an unspoken promise, an unbreakable bond forged in silence. For a fleeting moment, they are simply two souls, stripped of their past, their pretenses, bound only by the shared history they can't seem to escape. In that quiet, delicate space, Jungkook feels himself letting go, too, of the walls he's built, the pain he's carried, the love he's buried so deeply it takes just to remember. And as the music swells around them, he finds solace in the closeness, in the chance to relive, just once more, the tenderness he once knew so well. The intensity of the moment surrounds them like a fragile cocoon, each passing second eroding the walls Jungkook has tried so hard to maintain. Taehyung's gentle, searching touch stirs memories he's tried to bury, memories of shared laughter, whispered promises, and the quiet warmth that used to fill the spaces between them. The months of separation melt away, and for a brief, suspended moment, it feels like they're the only two people in the world. Taehyung's fingers, tracing up Jungkook's neck, stop just beneath his jaw, his thumb grazing the delicate skin as though testing the boundary between them. Jungkook's breath hitches, his heartbeat loud in his ears. He can't shake the weight of all the things he wants to say, the confessions he's held back for so long. He's vulnerable in ways he hadn't anticipated, his heart laid bare despite the silence between them. "Why do you feel so familiar?" Taehyung's voice is barely a whisper, but it cuts through the tension like a blade, soft yet edged with an uncertainty that makes Jungkook's chest tighten. His lips part as he searches for words, but nothing seems adequate, nothing safe. All he can do is let out a shaky breath, his fingers unconsciously tightening around Taehyung's arm, as though grounding himself. A part of him wants to reveal the truth, to let Taehyung know who he is, to let him see the depths of his longing. But fear holds him back, fear of shattering whatever delicate balance they've managed to find in this hidden room. Instead, Jungkook leans forward, pressing his forehead against Taehyung's shoulder, savoring the warmth, the closeness, while it lasts. He closes his eyes, breathing in the familiar scent that brings with it a rush of memories. "If only you knew," he whispers, so faintly that it's barely audible. His voice trembles, carrying the weight of everything left unsaid. He knows he's crossing a line, risking exposure, but he can't bring himself to care in this moment. For Taehyung, blindfolded and unaware, there's only the mystery of his partner's touch, the intensity of the moment drawing him deeper into the unknown. Yet, there's an unspoken connection, an energy between them that feels more than physical, something that hints at a bond neither can fully understand but both feel to their core. Jungkook's heart aches with the knowledge that this can't last, that he'll soon have to retreat behind the mask he wears so well. But for now, as Taehyung's fingers graze his cheek, he lets himself fall just a little deeper, surrendering to the impossible dream he holds close. As the intensity in the room settles into a steady rhythm, a sense of melancholy seeps into Jungkook's chest, blending with the desire that still lingers thick in the air. He lets himself sink deeper into the warmth of Taehyung's embrace, feeling the strength of Taehyung's grip yet the gentleness in every movement. It's a contradiction that stirs something raw within him, a reminder of everything he thought he'd lost, now fleetingly within reach. The faint pulse beneath the collar at his throat grounds him, a symbol of vulnerability he hadn't meant to expose. It's a weight both comforting and terrifying, a surrender he's not sure he can take back. But the way Taehyung's lips brush against his collarbone, soft and deliberate, makes him forget everything else. For these brief moments, he lets himself believe that nothing else matters. Jungkook's whispered question still lingers in the air, an unanswered confession, but Taehyung only presses closer, his touch is growing softer, as if even in the darkness he senses the unspoken pain in Jungkook's voice. Jungkook feels his own resolve wavering, and he tightens his hold on Taehyung, fingers pressing into his shoulders as if to anchor himself in this impossible reality. Taehyung shifts beneath him, one hand settling on the small of Jungkook's back, drawing him closer. Their breaths synchronize, merging into the quiet rhythm of their shared longing, and Jungkook closes his eyes, allowing himself to sink completely into the illusion of the moment, the lines between memory and present fading away. For Taehyung, still unaware of the true identity of the man in his arms, there is only the closeness, the warmth, and the inexplicable familiarity that makes his heart race. His fingers trail down Jungkook's spine, and Jungkook shivers at the tender contact, feeling both liberated and bound by the connection between them. But he knows, in the deepest part of himself, that this illusion cannot last. That once the blindfold is lifted, the fragile spell will break, leaving them both standing on opposite sides of a chasm filled with everything they've left unsaid. And as the reality of it begins to weigh down on him, Jungkook lets out a quiet, shuddering breath, the ache in his chest growing as he whispers, almost to himself, just a little longer. In the dim light, where past and present blur, they remain entwined, two souls caught between longing and regret, sharing a connection that words could never capture. And for now, Jungkook allows himself to fall, just for this fleeting moment. He surrenders entirely,